The sailing stones of Egypt. Beyond any shadow of doubt of the many and varied architectural achievements of the human race, the pyramids of Egypt, in this case the Giza pyramids, must surely top the list in terms of provoking deep awe and amazement, and a great deal of unbridled controversy and debate as well. Conventional Egyptology suggests that the pyramids were built during what are today termed the Old and Middle Kingdom of Egypt. That's to say from around the 3rd millennium BC, that's about 1650 BC. And the reason for their construction? Almost certainly to act as tombs for the pharaohs, so convention tells us. Convention also tells us the pyramids were built by sheer brute force, manpower, and technology of a very down-to-earth nature. But is that really the case? One Abu al-Hasan Ali al-Mas'udi, otherwise known as the Herodotus of the Arabs, was a prolific 10th century writer born in Baghdad in 896 AD, who faithfully and carefully prepared an immense 30-volume series of texts that told the history of the world, based upon his personal extensive travels to lands far and wide and exotic. To say that al-Mas'udi was a well-journeyed fan of road trips is a veritable understatement of the highest order. His impressive and dedicated treks took him to such varied parts of the globe as India, East Africa, Egypt, Syria, and Armenia. He was also a skilled seaman who traveled Mediterranean, the Caspian Sea, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. And it was during his many excursions to such places that al-Mas'udi collected the equally many tales, stories, and legends that made their way into that aforementioned and priceless multi-volume work. Its collective title, translated into English, was The Meadows of Gold and Mines of Gems. Meadows of Gold and Mines of Gems. But for all of the fascinating data that al-Mas'udi amassed during the course of his numerous wanderings, one piece stands out as being particularly illuminating. Within the pages of his writings, which were completed about 947 AD, 9 years before his death at the age of 60, al-Mas'udi noted that in very early Arabic legends there existed an intriguing story suggesting that the creation of the pyramids of Egypt had absolutely nothing to do with the conventional technologies of the era. Rather, al-Mas'udi recorded tantalizing, centuries-old lore that had come his way during his explorations strongly suggested the pyramids were created by what today we would most likely refer to as some form of levitation. The incredible story that al-Mas'udi uncovered went like this. When building the pyramids, their creators carefully positioned what was described as magical papyrus underneath the edges of the mighty stones that were to be used in the construction process. Then, one by one, the stones were struck by what was curiously and rather enigmatically described as a rod of metal. Lo and behold, the stones then slowly began to rise into the air, and like dutiful soldiers, unquestioningly following orders, proceeded in slow, methodical, single-file fashion a number of feet above a paved pathway surrounded on both sides by similar mysterious metal rods. For around 150 feet, al-Mas'udi noted, the gigantic stones moved forward, usually without noting nothing more than the gentlest of prods from the keeper of the mysterious rod to ensure they stayed on track, before finally and very softly settling back to the ground. At that point, the process was duly repeated. The stones were struck once more, rose up from the surface, and again traveled in the desired direction for yet another 150 feet or so. And so the strange, repetitive task continued, time and time again, until all of the stones finally reached their ultimate destination. Then, in a distinctly far more complex feat, the stones were struck a further time, but this time in a fashion that caused them to float even higher into the air. Then, When they reached the desired point, they were carefully and with incredible ease manipulated into place one by hand and nothing else, until the huge pyramid in question was finally completed. Such a scenario sounds manifestly astonishing. Certainly, many might laugh at such amazing assertions. Others might dismiss the whole thing as the ravagings and the ravings of a madman, or the stuff of nothing more than distorted legend and fanciful folklore, or what we would say, a very tall tale. But just perhaps the old tale tells nothing less than a fantastic truth about amazing how long lost technologies of the ancients worked. This is the source from Mysterious Universe, and it's on Humans Are Free. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.